Russia allows nuclear weapons that can reach Moscow within several minutes from Ukraine. I mean, that's insane. Think like that in the nuclear age. I mean, it really is indivisible. You cannot have a nuclear power being threatened by nukes anywhere near its borders, or that's a recipe for disaster.
Many thanks for joining us today. It's really good to hear your thoughts. We've been talking to member Alexander Data has confirmed that Russia and Ukraine have carried out yet another exchange of fallen servicemen. The handover was arranged at a conference and is part of the wider agreement reached during the May 5 talks in Istanbul. Moscow transferred the remains of 1,000 servicemen to the Ukrainian side and received 35 fallen soldiers in return. A similar swap was last carried out in late January. Iranian and US delegations are currently holding a pivotal third round of talks on Tehran's nuclear program. Teams are in Geneva but not speaking directly. Intermediaries continuing in that role. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas R.I.P called the talks a historic opportunity to produce an agreement, as long as the US also prioritizes diplomacy. Something lingering in the background to any being reached, however, is the massive US military. Well, the Swiss-held talks come shortly after America's second-in-command doubled down on accusations that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. The president insists Tehran has never had to its energy security through atomic means is in line with many other nations. Here's J.D. Vance's initial remarks.
They try to rebuild a nuclear weapon. That causes problems for us. In fact, we've seen evidence have tried to do exactly that. So the president sending those negotiators to try to address the problem, as the president has said repeatedly, he wants to address that problem diplomatically, but of course the president has other options as well.
It is said that Iran must declare that it will not pursue nuclear weapons, but this has already been stated by the supreme leader. Nuclear weapons at all. We are not like that. Politicians make truth to people. Someone might assume that I, as a politician, could be lying, just as they think of other politicians. But a religious leader, the leader of a society, cannot lie. When he declares that we will not have nuclear weapons, it truly will not have them. And even if I personally wanted to move in that direction, from a religious and ideological standpoint.
For the latest Sanchez effect heard from both sides of the argument after posing the question, why would Washington want to attack Iran? US Sergeant Thomas Norton echoed Mr. Vance's claim while alleging in the deadliest attack on American soil.
So, I mean, we're talking about the history of that part of it, but the other part is Iran actually supplied terrorism. When 9/11 happened, the United States should not have invaded Iraq. I am not a person that actually supported the concept of invading Iraq. Going to Afghanistan, absolutely. But I was one of the primary suppliers of it. The countries that were responsible for 9/11, for the funding of terrorism, was the Iranian government and actually part of the Saudis. What we should have done is put an oil embargo on Saudi Arabia at that time and actually pumped our own oil. At that point, when after Iran and Afghanistan.
But Iran. But the only flaw in your argument is that the Iranians and the Saudis were at the time not exactly the best of friends. In fact, they were on opposite sides of the spectrum. Why would those
two parties? They're in the Cold War, but they do actually say at that point in time we're both funding a terrorist organization independently and together. The terrorist organization didn't supply to just one government; they were funded by multiple.
So you're saying. The record, to set the record right, make sure we understand you. You're saying Iran was responsible for the blowing up of the Twin Towers on 9/11?
One of multiple nations that were culprits.
Okay, back to you, Professor Morandi.
Well, yeah, this is of course that Prime Minister Mossadegh was overthrown illegitimately by the United States with Operation Ajax.
Yes.
And the United States installed a dictator.
Yes.
And in 1970, public revolution, everyone knows that. There were millions of people on the streets across the country. Iran just recently, you saw people rallying on the day of the revolution, commemorating for the revolution, and millions. No hide that. But Chechens, no hide that. But to say that Iran was behind 9/11 or had anything to do with it, Al-Qaeda was a creation of the United States and its allies. In Afghanistan was blowback. Even Hillary Clinton admitted that.
Begin the third round of indirect talks. The negotiations, which are being mediated by Oman, come as tensions mount in the Middle East. This as the U.S.'s military buildup in the region continues, stoking fears of an imminent attack on Iran. Tehran wants the discussions to remain on the nuclear issue, but the United States wants to broaden any deal to include Iranian proxies and its missile program. Ahead of the talks, Iran's president reiterated that the Islamic Republic was not seeking a nuclear weapon. For more on all of this, we can bring in our foreign affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. Doug, great